Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We have with us a very special returning guest, Curtis Yarvin. A couple of his books are now out by Passage Press. Is Press or Publishing? How do they call it?
Passage
Passage Press.
Press.
Great job those guys do with their work. I'm a big fan of theirs. His Substack is Gray Mirror. We were talking about something before we started recording. Let's resolve that because I have a lot to talk to you about, Curtis.
Well, we were talking about race science, and I fucking love science, like you, I imagine, Michael. Do you fucking love science? I fucking love
I
science,
love
and
it.
I fucking love especially two kinds of science that I fucking love: race science and Science Magazine. It's a magazine called Science. It's the name is Science, but it also contains science, and it's a science magazine. And early in 2020, while most of our attentions were elsewhere, a couple of researchers at Stanford. It's a land grant university in California. You might have heard of it. Published this very interesting piece,
Wait, can you
and
hold on? You're talking right now like my favorite comedian, Neil Hamburger. Like it's like he's got the mic. Goes up all these guys at Stanford.
it's called and listen to this clearly. It's called "Recovering Signals of
Okay,
Ghost Archaic Introgression in
what's that mean?
African Populations." Okay, so ghost. First of all, before we started, you were talking about spooks. I believe in the federal context. So
Right.
that made me think of this paper about ghost populations. So let me just read some sentences from the abstract here. Well, introgression, that means mating with other species. From That doesn't shock you. From Neanderthals and Denisovans has been documented in modern humans outside Africa. The contribution of archaic hominins, for some reason, Michael, and I wish someone would explain to this, you're not supposed to say hominid anymore. It's like you don't say homeless, you say unhoused. Well, it's
Right.
not hominid. I grew up reading about hominids and like Louis Leakey discovering hominids. Apparently now they've become hominins.
Why?
Okay, could be a gender thing. I don't know. The contribution the contributions, because Ian, it's the feminine ending. Never mind. The contributions, wait. Listen very carefully to the
Yes.
words I'm about to tell you. The contribution of archaic hominins to the genetic variation of present day Africans remains poorly understood.
Okay.
Next sentence. Our analyses of site frequency spectra indicate that these populations, meaning African populations,
Right.
West African populations, derive 2 to 19%. That's some wide error bars, folks. 2 to 19%. That means
Sure.
as little as 2, as many as 19, but we're coming in around 10 to 12 of their genetic ancestry from an archaic population that diverged before the split of Neanderthals and modern humans. More methods follow. And then finally, the wonderful closing sentence. Our results reveal the substantial contribution of archaic ancestry in shaping the gene pool of present day West African populations.
Right. This is in Science
Right.
Magazine.
This is in Science Magazine, so I think we can call it science.
Right.
And the thing is, if you're having trouble, like Michael, if you're having trouble in sort of interpreting those results, basically, I think a good question to ask sometimes when you read a result like this in this field, and especially in an August publication such as Science, you might ask, what would my Uncle Roy say?
Well, first of all, I think they should change the name to The Science. I mean,
The
that's much clear.
Science.
But
The Science.
to your point, before you answer Uncle Roy, what you're addressing here is something I talk about in my book, The New Right, and which has been bubbling under in internet circles
Right.
and corners for a long
Right.
time, which is this concept of human biodiversity.
Right.
So
Right.
for people who
Which
don't
is
know,
such an interesting concept because it reminds us of it's strange because it reminds us of our racist Uncle Roy, and inevitably reminds us of our racist Uncle Roy, who was not a reader of
right?
Science Magazine.
Well,
How did he get this information? How did he know? That's the question we have to answer.
Well, Curtis, this is kind of like that whole bell curve meme where the people at the top of the
Mm,
bell curve and the bottom bell curve, like
exactly
the
like
wizard
that.
and the caveman have the same
The
view.
wizard and the caveman
Right,
have the same view, but they don't seem to talk to each other much.
right.
So, yeah, how does that happen?
Until this Trump administration. So there's a
Until
lot.
this Trump
The,
administration. Because in this Trump administration, the thing that I saw that was the best description, it was somewhere on Twitter, or should I say X. And it was that, this administration represents the football team and the chess club teaming up
yes,
against the drama kids and the high school newspaper.
yes,
So
yes, and
I
the hall
think that's
monitors.
absolutely true. And the hall monitors. So we have Big Balls, we've got his sidekick, Akash Boba. These people are on the all name team already. We've got what's a guy? Marco Elez. What even ethnicity is that? Someone said it was Serbian. He could be some kind of gypsy. We don't know, right? Race science hasn't weighed in on this question, but he is making America great again, absolutely, unquestionably.
Wait,
There's the guy who, when his name was doxed, put up a Substack, which charged $1,000 per post and $10,000 per year, and then all the posts were blank. So,
wow.
this is real. This is real trolling skill.
Before we get into that, though, I want to ask you. I have two big questions for you. First, well, small one and a
Right.
big one. You recently came here to Austin, and you met a friend of the show, good buddy of mine, Kurt Metzger. And when
I
Kurt told
did.
me this, I said to him, "Could either of you have gotten a word in edgewise?" I would love for you to tell the audience what that was like when Curtis Yarvin met Kurt Metzger.
Oh, it was absolutely great. Well, first of all, we have the similar names that created an instant affinity, right? Although I will not be known as Kurt because there's a tragic family history there, which I will not disclose. But it was a little bit like, a couple of, itinerant, Jedi's getting in a brawl in the backyard of Maz Eisley's cantina, right? And I'm afraid to say that he's a little bit faster and better than me, but it was good. It was solid. We got a good workout, and we didn't film it because our films were in bags. I'd like to say that also, for those who question that, this was a very gentlemanly and indeed sober affair. There's no kind of intoxication involved here. No, because the thing is that, every activity in human affairs, Michael, is can be contaminated, can be compromised by the scourge of performance enhancing drugs. And I just want to say that there's no room for that, as you know, in comedy.
Uh, what I really want to talk about at length and we get pretty granular, which obviously you're an expert at, is you were recently the subject of the New York Times profile.
It was
One of the
not a profile, but an interview.
Anyway,
I was
excuse me.
interviewed. I was
One of the
interrogated.
things one of the most profound things I think you've said. You've said a lot of things that I think are pretty profound. I remember you used this analogy about the space Nazis, and you
The
said if
space
there are
Nazi.
these Nazis living on the far side of the moon and they wanted to conquer America or the world, what population should they brainwash? Is it the
Right.
Supreme Court? Is it Congress? Is it like the mayor, the president? Go, no, it's the New York Times, because
Well,
the New York,
they used to
hold on,
they used to call.
let me finish. Hold on. And your point was the New York Times has no accountability. Supreme Court, if they act out of line, there's people who call them in check. You can pack the court. The New York Times, forget it. So you more than even I understand the nature of the New York Times, its malevolence and its appeal. This boomer thing about Trump won, no one reads the New York Times is just laughable on its face. I would love to hear the backstory of how this happened and your thoughts about. I'm sure there was some trepidations on your part.
A little bit. Well, it turns out that when the New York Times reaches out to you to do an interview, the email, for those who will have yet to have this experience, the email you get actually looks remarkably like a spam email, and it
Okay.
starts with the New York Times and you. Sort of like the spam sort of like the spam text you get all the time from President Trump. It's
Yeah.
like basically, I think somehow if Trump ever texted me, it would be like I would hit like report junk, instantly.
What
Before
that happened to me. Rogan texted me inviting me on from a new phone number, and I had to ask Lex if this was real because I'm like, "This isn't Joe's number." I'm like, "Hey, come to my show again." I'm like, "Is this really you?"
Yeah, people will fuck with you on the internet, like, and so yeah, I think, it was a pleasant experience. They let me get in that little line. Speaking of,
Wait,
when you
before no, you're
say
going too
when
fast.
you say Michael, when you say Michael, that I just wanted to, I'm really big on fact checking, so I wanted to correct an error here. When you say that the New York Times is not accountable, that's really not true. It's renowned accountable to Pincher, Punts, or Putz, or something. Sulzberger the Fifth, who is a hereditary absolute monarch, and that's, I'm sure, a position he takes very seriously.
But
So,
before we get
as
into that, can you explain like what was your thought process? Because did you think they're going to be in good faith? Did you think this is a setup? Was there any reticence on your part?
No, I mean, there was a little bit of a setup because they popped a few hostile questions on them, but but the thing is, I just have a different viewpoint on these institutions, Michael. It makes me, when I think about even a power structure as august and mighty and noble as the New York Times, and you have to bear in mind, and this is a really important point, that these are not monolithic structures at all. The structure inside the New York Times, it's more like almost like the structure of a law firm. There's a bunch
Right.
of independent agents working and competing with this thing. There's actually, like, yes, there's a monarchical structure, but it's actually relatively weak and ramshackle.
And every monarchy is going to have the court, and the court are going to be fighting
Yeah,
with them with each
and by
other.
the way, one of the things they cut from the interview is, the interviewer was like, "You don't know anything about the New York Times," and I started to talk about the New York Times, and they cut that off about a third of the way through, but he actually cut it off in real life when he was like, we won't be able to use this." He literally
Oh,
said, "We won't be
wow.
able to use
Well,
this."
that's fair
Yeah,
in him.
yeah, that's fair of him. And then, I emailed him. I was like, I would love it if you would use this anyway, because if you can't, what does it say about the New York Times?
Sure.
And so they used a little bit of it, but I went deeper. And one of the things I said when I went deeper is, I think, AG is the name of the latest, Sulzberger or Emperor. It's AG. And I was like, I think a lot of the problems with the New York Times in the 2020 to 21 period that was so exceptional was because, actually, I think AG is a weak king. I think the New York Times itself became too oligarchical and let, like, brigades of young woke staffers take control. They didn't use that, but yeah, the thing is, when I basically regard these sort of prestigious institutions, I have this very, I think that a lot of this isn't, it's a slightly different analogy, but I think that when a lot of, you know, sort of younger people maybe come to sort of see the possibility of, like, actual power, like we could actually do something in Washington, D.C. Do you know the joke about the old bull and the young bull?
No.
The old bull and the young bull they're walking up the hill, and they get to the top of the hill, and they see a herd of cows down there, beautiful, fertile cows. And the young bull is like, "Let's run down there and fuck one of those cows." And the old bull is like, "No, let's walk down and fuck them all." And, like, just classic, I'm sure that really reflects, that makes you smile, Michael, because it reminds you of your own personal life.
Guys, I want to talk to you about the Juvent Micro Impact Platform, which is a revolution in biohacking and longevity. Everyone watching this show spends too much time sitting at work, on the car, on the couch. All that sitting takes a toll on your body. Now, the Juvent uses micro impact vibrations to support your joint health, improve bone density, and help with recovery. So whether you're sitting all day, on your feet all day, hitting the gym hard this year, or just noticing those daily aches a bit more, Juvent is a game changer. Here's how it works. You get on this thing for just 10 minutes a day. It helps your body activate areas that might have been neglected from living in a world where we're sitting on our ass, stress too much, and move too little. Now, imagine being able to move without pain or discomfort. I'm in my 60s, so this is a big issue for me, I assure you. The Juvent Micro Impact Platform has the ability to improve your daily life as well as adding years to your vertical lifespan. And your whole family can use the same platform if you like sharing. It's got a 10-year limited warranty. It's got financing options. It's never been easier to take control of your health. Visit juvent.com/malice. Use code malice to get an exclusive $500 off. That's juvent.com/malice. Use code malice at checkout. Take your health into your own hands in 2025 because, brother, no one else will. Folks, I have been in debt at times in the past, and it's the worst feeling because wherever you go, whatever you do, it's that background music, and it's really frustrating and really annoying, but you don't have to live that way. That's where PDS Debt comes in. PDS Debt does more than just help you manage your debt. They empower you to take control. You can use their platform. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. No more cookie cutter solutions. It's a clear path to financial freedom that fits your lifestyle. Here's the best part. No minimum credit score required. If you have bad credit or fair credit, they're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs in your savings account. Getting rid of debt and having that number go down every single month is a life-altering experience. Getting started is easy. Go to pdsdebt.com/welcome to complete your free debt assessment to see what options are available to you. Every day you wait, it's costing you money. So get started with your free, you don't got any money anyway. Get started with your free debt analysis in just 30 seconds at pdsdebt.com/welcome. That's pdsdebt.com/welcome. Take back control today by visiting pdsdebt.com/welcome. Great idea. Let's get back to the show. Well, I'm smiling. We're just going to take a little sidebar. You and I agree on a lot. We disagree on a lot. One of the
We do.
things that you're very famous for is advocating for tanks in Harvard Yard. And I have a slightly different point of view. And I just unwrapped. This just came in the mail today from France. This is from the 19th century. It is a working toy guillotine.
Can you like working? Can you like, what about a finger, a mouse? Wow, there's a
It's
weight
sharp.
there.
Yeah, it
That
works.
motherfucker be sharp.
Yeah.
Can you get a finger in there? Have you tried with carrots?
I
Like,
literally just opened it while you were talking.
here. Let me see the hole again. Let me see the hole
Oh, it
again.
works.
Have you tried circumcision with that?
I'm
Are
not.
you a little do
I'm
you
so
physically
Ashkenazi. I've been circumcised twice.
well, you can circumcise the 3 times. Try not to get your balls with the hole too. But
What?
you know,
Oh, this is for the top. Yeah, this works. It's a
yeah,
working.
it's for the tip. Never mind. Um, the amazing technology. Where was I with that? Oh yeah. So the thing is, New York Times. So the way I think about these kinds of institutions, Michael, really don't. I was kidding. Don't cut your dick off on that. But the way I was thinking about these institutions is you're really having fun there. The way I
Yeah,
think
because
about
there's a
these
little basket
institutions.
with the lid on it for the head.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Or the head of the. Never mind. But the way I think, you're not supposed to cut the head off. You just take the glands. It's like you
Oh God. Yeah, then you kiss it.
exactly, giving it herpes, right? And so in any case, let's get back to serious subjects here.
Shut it
So
down. They
so
don't.
so
They're not supposed to
the
know.
most serious subject in the world, it's the subject of power. It's the subject of who
Yes.
matters. And on the subject of power, there's a deep thought by an Islamic philosopher, actually, that I always come back to. It's Osama bin Laden, and Osama bin Laden said, I think I used that one on you last time. And Osama bin Laden said, when people see a strong horse and a weak horse, by nature they like the strong horse.
Yes.
And so the thing is, basically, to sort of to show strength in a conversation with any power is to basically be strong according to its own idea of strength.
Sure.
So if you have, for example, a country that is run by force of arms, the idea that you can come into the court and duel the court's greatest champion, and humble him and slide a sword behind his collarbone, is like, it's very powerful. It shows that you were there. And so, when you basically speak to an institution like the New York Times, your goal is to, as we say on the internet, your goal is to kind of mock it, to kind of show it that you exceed it by its own standards, that at the same time you recognize, and one of the things that really helps in dealing with any kind of power, however legitimate or illegitimate, is to recognize that all power comes from God. And therefore, if there is an illegitimate power, it is because basically that illegitimate power is in some ways obeying the law of God, for which the legitimate power was inadequate. For example, the legitimate way that this country, according to some, views of it, is governed by the Congress being democratically elected by the people and passing laws which the president executes subject to
Right,
the
right,
Supreme Court. Actually, you can kind of know that that is not being run that way by the fact that the House of Representatives, supposedly the turbulent, broth of democracy, has a 98% incumbency rate. It's only 90% for the Senate. And if you, as a democratic salmon swimming upstream, get past that, oh, you elected a new senator or congressman, guess what? They just got their committee assignments. It's like the, committee on, Southern sewage treatment or something,
right,
right? And, and so you actually have this system, which, while nominally democratic, is essentially a buffer against the way it's supposed to work. And what that actually tells you is that the way it's supposed to work actually doesn't work. And you
yeah,
should be very, very careful about putting it back the way, because basically,
right.
for that illegitimate thing to prevail, the legitimate thing has already been tried and found wanting
Right. So
a
as I
long
put
time
it,
ago.
like we've run the experiment. I'm not. This isn't unique to me. We've run the experiment with the Constitution. Supposedly, it's going to restrict government. Instead, it's created the biggest government ever. The idea that if we just have this Constitutional Convention, hit Control Delete, that it's going to have a dissimilar outcome. The data does not imply that. It's currently
Well,
plausible, but
there's no denying, Michael, that the Constitution under the United States, since the 1789, the United States of America has been super successful in a lot of ways, and especially from 1789 to 1945. And there's sort of two explanations for that greatness, and I'm not ashamed to call it greatness. One is that America, the country, was great. A great
yes,
country, a great people.
correct.
The other one, wait. The
Okay,
other one, hang on,
go
hang
again.
on. I fucking love
Don't make me
science,
guess
Michael.
first.
I'm fucking love science. We're gonna do this scientifically because I fucking love science, right?
Okay,
And the other possibility, however, is that it's the American system of government that made us great. And the thing is, what's really unfortunate, Michael, is that it would be really easy to tell this if a scientific American experiment had been done, even a set of samples, if the US had exported its political system to other countries
right, right,
and had
exactly.
been tested there, we could know, but it didn't. Wait, somebody's saying whoa. Somebody just told me the country to our south, the official name of that country, which I thought was Nueva España, New Spain. It's actually Los Estados Unidos de Mexico, the United States of Mexico. Actually, what I'm hearing is that all over the world, they've done this. They've copied our shit, probably not paying any royalties.
North Korea
And
has it as well. They have a Bill of Rights, basically.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Michael, because the name of North Korea is the DPRK, which
Yeah,
means the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. That's three euphemisms for our political system, which
right.
does not actually pertain there, and one place name. And so what we find actually is that the United States actually exported its political system to another country, the United States of Mexico. Actually, we exported it to all of Latin America. Actually, we exported it to the whole third world. And so, what we see when we try the American political system in a country that's not America or Europe is that it's a shit show, right? And so, essentially, like scientifically, what we're seeing is that America is pretty great. It's pretty hard to make America not great. It's pretty hard to make Britain not great, except if you take the place Britain and you basically occupy it with a different set of people, such as, for example, the residents of Angola. If you switch these countries, let's say Angola and Japan, or Haiti and Japan, excellent example. You switch the populations of Haiti and Japan. I believe that that would be a way to make Haiti great again.
Is it
Especially if you left some of the Haitians there to kind of help them out, right, and grow like sugar and stuff, like amazing country, right? But
wait? Go.
if you basically took the infrastructure of Japan and the population of Haiti, right, what do you think Japan would look like in 30 years, right? And so that's an interesting, again, a kind of scientific question. We were discussing race science earlier, very, or as I like to call it, human genomics. Very interesting subject being researched actively at
You're here. You're
Oh my
fine.
God.
You're
The
fine.
free plan? Oh, Zoom.
You're
Sorry,
fine.
my other Zoom meeting ended.
You're fine.
I guess wow, I was ranting about race science into the venture capital meeting. That's okay. Nobody was there. Let's get back to StreamYard. StreamYard. Here we are. Here we go. I just got popped up. Sorry. And
You're fine.
in any case, we were thinking scientifically here, and it's really confusing. We were saying basically kind of our gut sense of what would go on in this thought experiment of exchanging the populations of Haiti and Japan, because like actually one of the curiosities, you wouldn't think so, but if you do kind of a map, you've seen these maps, these human genomics of like maps of genetic distance. And actually one of the things that's curious is not only are they both kind of tropical islands, but actually you wouldn't think so because they're so far apart. Um, but on a genetic map, Haiti, as well as in the alphabet, Haiti and Japan are right next to each other. They're like really very, very similar. The difference is only, I'm just, no, it's not true.
Okay.
But
You're
in any case, in any case, sorry, I'm a little, it's been a long day. I'm a little punchy, but, I'm just trying to, by giving you these false narratives, I'm kind of, trying to help you confirm your own self-confidence and your knowledge of this important field that's going to
But
place.
Curtis, let me get back to this New York Times thing because it's really interesting to me. What was the reporter's attitude toward you? Was he, was he wearing his heart in his sleeve, so to speak? What was the discussion like? How did you size him up? I'm sure as soon as you met him, you had an opinion of him.
Well, the thing is, when you walk into the New York Times, I don't know if you've ever been in the New York
I
Times
have.
building, the Renzo Piano space, but one of the things that's remarkable that they do is they have a very, and Hitler did this as well, it's a sign of the real sovereignty, Hitler did this, is that they have a very large waiting area with no seating. And
Yeah.
so, when you're waiting for your escort to come down there in this beautiful orange kind of, 80s Italian modernist building, um, you're cooling your heels and then you come down. And I think that, I don't want to reveal any green room confidences. I would say that, you know, and he warned me about this. Essentially, if that interviewer sometimes seems a little dumb or dense or obtuse in that interview, it's because he's doing his job, and he
Okay.
warned me that he was going to be doing his job. And his job is to basically kind of bring the IQ level of the conversation down a little bit so that New York Times readers, who, I mean, they're brighter than the average
They want a
Angloers,
perfect
right? But,
115.
they want
Perfect
a perfect
115.
one for so the thing is to make it accessible to midwits,
Yeah.
I think is very important for the kind of marketing strategy of the New York Times. And the midwit, is about, 115 basically. And I think he did a fairly good job of that. And, of course I thought of, even cooler, more amazing things that I could have said. Um, you know, but so
One thing that shocked me was
mhm.
that the photo they used was very flattering. It wasn't a photo that, like, is ominous or make you look like a crazy person. It was a great picture of you, and I remember this is decades ago, Rush Limbaugh was on the cover of, like, Time, and they had this really sinister picture, and he was railing about it. He's like, "Why do you guys do me dirty? You can do a piece of
Well,
me."
they did. It's funny. Maybe the cameraman just liked me. I don't know, because there's a long photography session,
Sure.
and I looked at what they'd done to JD Vance for the same feature, and they basically made JD look like he'd just been released from, like, some kind of minor Tennessee
Right.
state prison on like a real estate fraud charge. And I like. Also, the other thing, I mean, I've been doing this for various reasons, but it was good that I'd done it. Before I did that, I'd been training, for 5 or 6 months, 4 or 5 months maybe. I'd been training for the Ozempics, and so basically, like I was in, sort of that fighting weight, and I did this. People don't think it matters, and it's like I did this debate last year with Richard Hananya, and I have the footage, and I've hesitated to release it, not because, I would say sort of on the merits and the content, I think Richard was really underprepared. Maybe he'd like a rematch sometime. I don't know. But the problem was that, this is all well and good, but, at a sort of physical level, like, I was fat and he was not. And, as Azalea Banks has said, when you're fat, and you say anything, all people can hear is that you're
Can
fat,
can I
right?
can I have to tell you a
You
story. I
know
haven't
this
told
well. You know this well,
I
Michael. I'm
haven't
sure.
told anyone this story since
Ugh,
1995.
holy shit.
We're getting ready for, I think his name was, I forget the guy's, I remember his face. I don't remember his name. I think it was Doug. It wasn't Doug, but my brain is saying Doug.
As in Dominated by Doug, my favorite story.
No. Oh,
Chronicles
yeah.
Brewer, yeah.
So I'm in the hall at Bucknell. We're all in our suits because we're going to give a presentation for business class.
Your birthday suits.
No, not at our birthday suits. This is Bucknell University. And Doug, I'm
Sorry, I interpreted Bucknell as something completely
yeah.
different.
And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, where'd you get that suit? Like Gap Kids?" Or was something like that.
Wow.
And
Gap Kids. That's really strong.
I was so put off that my quick wit wasn't even available to me, and I paused and I blurted out an honest expression of complete contempt. I just go, "You're fat." Like, I was genuinely shocked, and
That's great. That's
everyone
brilliant.
laughed. Hold on,
That's
everyone
brilliant.
laughed, and he just stood there kinda smiling and nodding, and it actually gave him an eating disorder, and he lost all the weight. But I was so
That's
put
brilliant.
off that, like, "You're coming at me, you're
That's
fat."
brilliant. The sudden kill shot. Wow. Wow, that's almost as bad as the time I asked you how long you've been
Derek!
going out with Blair
His name was
White.
Derek, and his dad was, like, running for governor or something. He was, like, a big shot in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he became a big shot. No, I know you missed. You cut off my punchline.
It was so
That was
great.
that was almost as good as the time I'd asked you. I asked you how long you'd been going out with Blair White. But the yeah. Anyway, yeah. Is that still the greatest comeback of your life? Like,
That?
yeah.
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
Not at
Okay.
all.
Yeah, it's strong though. I have to admit,
Well,
it's
I can't
really
take credit for
sincere.
it because it wasn't like I was it was it wasn't clever.
Those are the best kind.
I
Like,
guess it was so
when you
visceral.
shoot absolutely from the hip, it's completely visceral. I can't rehearse deadpan. I can't even redo deadpan. If I've done a good deadpan, it's like I can't do it again. I'm ruined, right? Because the deadpan has to be improvised.
I want to take a second to talk about one of my absolute favorite sponsors and something that has changed my life profoundly for the better and will help a lot of you out there. And that's Just Thrive and their probiotics and other products. The biggest health secret that no one's talking about starts in your gut. Every day, your gut is fighting a silent war against processed foods, work stress, pesticides, and toxins in the air you breathe. And when your gut's in trouble, your whole body feels it. Here's where it gets crazy. Most people are spending money on probiotics that don't even work. It's just a word. Because up to 99% of traditional brands die in your stomach acid before they reach your gut where they need to colonize. You might as well flush them down the drain. That's what makes Just Thrive spore-based probiotics completely different. Just Thrive is the only one clinically proven to arrive 100% alive in your gut. And it does something no other probiotic can. It turns your gut into an antioxidant factory, creating protective compounds exactly where you need them most. For you, that means better digestion, healthy immunity, more energy, and easy weight management. Just Thrive Probiotic comes in a capsule or a berry-flavored gummy. There's an option for everyone in the family, and it's backed by an industry-leading guarantee. If you're ready to transform your health in 2025, take the 9-day challenge. You will love the way you feel or get a full product refund, no questions asked. I've been talking about probiotics since 2006. It's in my book, Ego and Hubris. I swear by this stuff. It is life-changing, and Just Thrive is the brand I use. Visit justthrivehealth.com. You can save 20% off on your first 9-day bottle with promo code WELCOME. It's not expensive at all. If you have ever had stomach issues and you think this is how you have to live, I'm telling you, this is going to be a big difference, and they've got the full product refund. You owe it to yourself not to have to live like this. I thought I had to live like this for the rest of my life, and I didn't, thanks to probiotics. That's justthrivehealth.com, promo code WELCOME. Let's get back to the show. But I want to get back to your points. You're debating Hananya, and
Yeah.
who's also been on the show. You were fat.
Yeah.
So you thought it
Yeah.
did you
And
were
and he actually has lost weight. He lost weight. He First of all, like, let's give Hinanya his due. All right, he's a creep. But the thing is, he lost weight natty. Okay, he's got a
he's
great
not Greek. He's
a
Arab.
No. He's a creep.
Oh,
He
creep.
lost
Oh,
weight.
sorry.
He's a creep, but I mean, intellectually, as a
Okay.
person, I'm sure he's fine. But as the intellectually, he's a creep, and
What do
he
you mean
lost
by
weight.
calling him a creep?
It's complicated. It's like troll is the word that's usually used, but I don't think it's quite right. I feel like that a creep, in a way, is someone who takes motivated positions, and I feel like basically, the sort of the maybe with the monetization of Twitter, like there's like this sort of engagement craving that I find in its work that I find, in an intellectual and a man of letters, in a scholar and a gentleman, just slightly despicable. But I
Do
have a lot
would you say
of a lot of
provocateur?
respect.
Is provocateur a better word?
No, because there's like, you know, there's something innocent about a provocateur, and I don't think there's anything innocent about
Oh, okay.
there's just like it's creepy. I don't know, like when you're because the problem is that he's neither. Sometimes he's ironic, sometimes he's non-ironic, sometimes he's sort of somewhere between. Sometimes he's self-deprecating. Sometimes he has sort of all of these registers, and it kind of blends into like the sort of feeling that even when he's serious, he's not really serious. Like
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
and yeah, I'm just like, man, life's too short for this shit, right? Like, just go on the internet and say what you mean, and like, yeah, I don't know. That's my feeling on the right way to use the internet.
Okay, I
But
see what
it's
you're
old
saying.
fashioned. It may be an old fashioned person, and I'm older than him as well, which is a significant disadvantage.
Yeah, because you and I both are ironic sometimes, not ironic other times in between. But I
But
think
you
what
can tell the difference, and
yeah,
we're
yeah,
using the register. Like, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, it's not the style is just repulsive to me. He's a perfectly fine guy. I'm sure he
W-
doesn't
What
do anything funny.
what has been the response for having that New York Times interview for you?
Um, um, what has been the response of having that New York Times interview for me? The response is, you know, um, I find myself sitting with my face to the wall in restaurants, even though I probably don't need to. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Wherever I hold on,
the
wherever
thing
I
is,
go, people pretend they don't recognize me.
yeah, I know. I've seen that too, right? And they just don't want to. But I don't get hostility, right? But the so far, but the I don't know how I feel of it being identified as like the mastermind behind the big balls evil takeover of the federal government. But that's okay. We'll deal with that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like when you sort of develop any mainstream legitimacy, it's kind of a two-edged sword. You
Yep,
can't really be a cult figure anymore. You've
yep,
got to actually go through with your crossover, and sort of become a like somewhat mainstream figure.
yeah,
And that's a hard and interesting problem. And there's a lot of ways to like fuck it up. It's actually like the world, just has this really sick and ugly upper out system. And so, once you become a nano celebrity, you have to become a micro celebrity. And once you become a micro celebrity, you have to become a milli celebrity, which is about where I am right now. And there's just like you keep going upward, or you just flame out and put a shotgun in your mouth like Kurt Cobain. I don't know.
well,
Like,
there's allegedly. So I want to ask, you mentioned someone,
oh, you're
yeah, according
why
to
what
Patrick Francis did
why is Donald Trump not releasing the Kurt Cobain files?
it. He's bought.
he's
Wait, let me
he's
ask.
Courtney occupied
Yeah,
America.
yeah.
It's Courtney occupied
Cog.
America.
Wake up, people. We live in Cog. Courtney occupied government. Wait, I gotta
Courtney
ask you about
occupied.
this. So you
Yes.
mentioned someone whose name I'd never heard of, this guy Glenn Wheel, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
went to his wall and I saw his tweet, and he said, "I'm so sorry to say this, but shame on New York Times, New York Times Magazine, and David Marchese. You got your rear handed to you by one of the most dangerous people on earth." I'm referring to you, Curtis. The worst thing you could do with this guy is to give him attention and context that's valid. I saw this and I'm like, first of all, I was so taken aback because not only is the
That's
concern
got to
woman,
go on the back of a book at some
hold on,
point.
yeah,
That's
but
really
I was like,
like
not only is the concern womanly, oh, how could you talk to that awful man? But the tool used, to demand a response was womanly, which is shame on you, shame on you. And it shocked me how gendered his reaction was. Were you surprised to see that? I'm sure you weren't surprised to see things like this.
I didn't actually see the tweet. I don't like Google myself on Twitter or
Okay,
whatever
but
the fuck, right? You know,
response like this, I'm sure have come across your
but
desk.
yeah. I mean, it just, you know, it makes me realize that what we need after like 2 or 3 months of a training program, you know, Glenn Weil and I obviously need to do an onstage debate, like shaved and oiled, like wearing only jock straps, you know, and like basically, you know, we'll compete as whole human beings. You know, the body will be on display, the soul will be on display, the wit will be on display. We'll be drinking, you know, we'll have, there's a variant of Oxford. After doing my debate at the Austin Union, I devised a variant of the Oxford rules where basically after every interchange, the audience votes and whoever loses the vote has to drink.
Oh,
And so, yeah, exactly. And so basically, like, you know, this is a way, because this is a way, I mean, Austin Union adopted this vegetarian version of Oxford Union rules where there's no voting, which I thought was like really
that's whole
contemptible.
points to voting.
And it's the whole point. I was so disappointed, but they'll get it right. They're just freshmen. They'll get it right. But the yeah, you know, with especially a clause like this, basically, like I think actually going toe to toe, you know, or really, you know, dick to dick with Glenn Weil like this, because we should be standing very close, right? You know, in this context, we should, you know, the thing is, the debate should be, it should be a multi-sensory debate. So you've got our gleaming trained bodies, right, standing very close, you know, and we're close enough that we can actually smell each other. And so, like, you know, as one of us prevails, the other will actually smell his fear. You know how
Um,
you can smell fear?
yeah, I can.
Yeah. And it'll be like, I won't say it'll be arousing, but it'll be stimulating, you know,
Um,
and then with the energy from the drinking, you know, just like this will be a very intense moment. And it will be captured, you know, very by cameras, very closely by cameras. Like, you know, this has to be an intense media experience,
you're really
right? And
dedicated to this passage press, aren't you? These are passages.
well, yeah, sure. It's a passage. This is a passage of arms. This is a passage of bodies. Like, you know, this is how, if a man lays down a challenge like that, like, you know, we have to come together, you know, like this.
What I want to know is, I saw a headline. I didn't click. I agree with the headline personally, but I want to hear your thoughts. It said Curtis Yarvin, I was wrong about Trump.
Hmm.
I would love to
Yeah.
hear you unpack that.
Well, the thing is, I basically, because as they say on Wall Street, past performance is a predictor of
Yep.
future results. I basically saw the comparison between the rhetoric of the first Trump administration,
Yep.
which was occasionally, you know, his Bain inaugural speech, wonderful speech. I give it back to you, the people. You know, amazing keynote content, right? And then absolutely nothing at all happens. And you know, the thing is, and there was due to many kinds of failures. I think, you know, the president himself has been pretty honest about how that shit didn't really work out, and so it's sort of reasonable to expect
Yep.
another run of the flim flam truck, right? You know, and the president seems to have decided, you know, both he has the sort of the staff, the assistants, the plans, whatever. He's decided to, you know, co-op and you know, for the first time in the history of the Republican Party since 1940, when the Republican candidate Wendell Willkie was, I kid you not, a Democrat until 6 months before the
Oh yeah.
election.
Who would never lecture
You
them
know,
for anything.
he decided he was going to do what they call in WWF a shoot. He decided he was going to not throw the fight. Sorry,
Yeah.
having some power issues here, and he did not throw the fight. Now, of course, the forces that he's up against are immense forces,
Yes.
forces of tremendous power, and they've barely begun to act. And you know, so far, you know, people are sort of terrified because he's kind of slicing through them like, or Elon is slicing through the federal government pretty much like the Nazi, you know, not to say he's a Nazi, of course, but is he slicing through the Washington's defenses like Nazi panzers in the fall of France? Yeah, actually, he's kind of slicing through them like by like, you know, like Nazi panzers, like invading Westchester County, you know, but like as Mark Halperin was saying, like, they're not even slowing him down. But
Yeah.
of course, he's gonna start to encounter organized
Yep.
resistance, and that's gonna basically require him to have some nerves, some goals, some clarity. Butchery is going to have to yield to surgery, but like, there shouldn't be any hesitation. It's like Burke. Burke, I think, compared, basically changing the state to, or operating on the state to a surgeon operating on the body of his own father. Okay, and that's an even more redolent image when you remember, okay, this is before anesthetic. Okay, imagine you're a surgeon operating on your own father, but it's like 17 fucking 62.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's some heavy shit. Like, he's got a bullet between his teeth. He's had 4 bottles of whiskey. Like, it's horrifying. He has to be tied down. He's screaming in pain, and yet you have to operate. That's not a time to be squeamish. That's a time to wear your earplugs, because the thing is, does your father need the operation? Maybe not. Maybe it's the 18th century. It's just bloodletting. But maybe he's got cancer. He's got tumors all over his body, right? You've got to get them out. You've got to dig. And, the more he shrieks, the more you're just like, sorry, Dad, it's working,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, that I think, and that's the right idea. Just remember that you're doing it to heal your father, to save
Well,
him, as you
are
just dig
you
these hardened nodules out of his flesh while
are
he
you
just howls in pain.
did you don't know this, but you're quoting from the Iron Lady, the Margaret
Really.
Thatcher movie where Meryl Streep played Margaret Thatcher, because there's a scene where she's getting fitted for a ball gown and she's with her cabinet members, and she says, "Yes, the medicine is harsh, but the patient requires it in order to live. Should we withhold the medicine?" She goes, "We were elected to save Britain's economy, not to manage the decline of a great nation, and have the right ideas, and we're going to implement them."
Margaret Thatcher was selling sugar pills with a little bit of aspirin and some hot pepper to make them taste like something. I mean, the decline. She barely paused the decline of Britain.
She did not barely
And
pause it. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Are we gonna have to fight about that lady right there? The 80s
you're
Britain
arguing that
versus
she didn't pause it, or that she
I'm
like
I'm saying 80s Britain was a violent move in the right direction compared to 70s Britain.
in the right direction. Michael, come on, who lost Ireland?
Who lost what?
Ireland. Like, who lost China? Who lost Ireland?
I don't know, the
Like,
Irish? Probably. I don't know.
probably. I don't know. I'm just, from a distance, I just see like nothing but decline, right? What would the Englishmen of 100 years ago have thought?
Wait,
I
hold
think
on.
it's
I'm not
England today.
arguing with you that England right now is a complete mess. My point is that window was a very big deal. That's all I'm saying.
It was a temporary pause.
Yes,
Did
it
you
was.
say?
Yes, we're on the same page, but I don't think it was a minor
Yeah.
temporary pause. I think it was a dramatic
No,
one.
I think England was just taking a break to apply some lube and rest her gaping one. And like anyway, we won't say disturbing things about the prime minister. I just received my travel authorization to go to the UK, so I don't want that to be rescinded by, thinking of like Elizabeth II and the goatse image, together. But
Folks, you already know the reasons why investors who don't trust central banks and fiat currency own gold. Politicians can't print it, the Fed can't inflate it, and growing your wealth outside the system gives you greater control over your finances. But here's what they really don't want you to know: your gold can actually earn you more ounces every single month. I'm referring to the Monetary Metals Gold Leasing Program. That's where clients can earn 3% annual interest on their gold, paid every single month in more ounces of physical gold. Stack that gold, people. Not dollars, not IOUs, real gold. The metal of my people. Instead of watching your savings rot in currency designed to lose value, you could be compounding your wealth in ounces of gold. You could be stacking more gold on autopilot while the central planners try to convince you that inflation is somehow a good thing. This is a no-brainer for gold owners. Now is the time to secure your wealth and build your legacy in an asset that the government can't inflate away. Don't let the Fed be in control of your finances. Here's how you can find out more. Go to monetary-metals.com/malice to learn more about how you can start growing your gold today. That's monetary-metals.com/malice. Let's get back to the show. I share your concern because I am shocked by how many people have thought that since Trump has had a home run 3 weeks, that it's smooth sailing from here on in. The Democratic Party has 31% approval rating. They're done. And I point out constantly, the Democratic Party is the oldest political party on earth. This is not an accident. And their only concern is power. They will throw anyone over the bus, over the side of the ship, or under the bus at any chance they get. And there's a lot of very smart people in that party who did not make such good decisions. Maybe they're marginalized in the last cycle, but to count them out, to me, after decades of ensconced power, is psychotic.
Michael, in 1989 in the Soviet Union,
Yeah,
of course, there was the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and ancient, and was it full of amazingly talented people that they have 500,000 armed special forces troops, all of the above. And when I was watching the fall of the Soviet Union, I was 15 years old, but I was already an experienced reader of the New York Times and the Economist and other fine mainstream.
and
And
science.
and I thought democracy was coming to
Right.
Russia. Amazing, amazing moment. Never happened before or since. And one of the things that concerned me, and perhaps it was a harbinger of the tyranny of Putin, who rules there today, but Yeltsin banned the Communist Party. He didn't say the Communist Party has to compete in elections with the Democratic, Party and the Republican Party and the Libertarian Party, and this time we're going to have to earn the votes fairly. No, he's just like, this is a criminal organization. The nature of this state is fundamentally criminal. We have to actually ban this party, to make it illegal, to seize its hideouts, to seize its, website.
Yeah,
I love the way Doge goes about seizing websites.
isn't
It's
that
just
great?
really like, it's so final.
Wait, did you know how this is happening?
No, I
Okay,
have no
this is
insight
something
into
I
the
saw on the
spreadsheet.
internet, and it seemed like a joke, but then people brought receipts. So, a grain of salt, but this is my understanding. And this is why they're having such problems fighting it. When Obama, we all remember
Oh,
Obama.
the USDS thing. Yes, that's very true.
It's
That's very
true.
true. Basically, and the most important thing that Trump 47 realizes that Trump 45 didn't is you have to hack the system. You can't let it work normally. You can't
Wait,
make
can
it
you?
work like it's supposed to. You've
One of
got
us
to
has to
hack it.
explain to people what we're referring to. Do you? I'll do it, or you can.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell the story.
So when Obama was
A
unleashing
light worker.
Obamacare, and the website was a complete disaster. It was a big laughing stock. They implemented this system, which basically is like a virus where it could get into any government resource that it needs to in order to make Obamacare website work. And that's how Obamacare was passed. They basically,
I can add a little more color to the
please,
story, Michael,
please,
because it's kind of my specialty. Well, it really goes back to the Roman. I was about to say the Roman Empire, the Roman Republic, the Roman Republic. So the story starts with the Roman Republic, and it starts with a guy named Pompey. His name is actually Pompey, and Pompey's kind of a little mini Caesar. And at the time, the Roman Republic, like our system of governance,
wait, you're not
has
doing a
based.
bit right now?
Oh, no, no, no,
This
no!
is the
I'm
most
really.
Curtis Yarvin. Actually, I thought you were making a self parody.
No, no,
I'm
no, no,
talking
no,
about
no. I'm
Obamacare.
very
You're like, that
serious.
story starts
I'm
with the Roman
completely
Republic.
serious. We've got to start with the Roman Republic.
Okay,
So,
please.
in the Roman Republic, there were basically two ways of getting shit done.
Right.
There was the Roman Republic Republican way of getting shit done, in which basically you had these highly educated Latin, statesmen, patricians who sat in their
Right.
with names like Biggest Dickus, who sat in their villas and had slaves write letters to each other, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and that was a civilian way of getting things done. And then you had the Roman military
Yeah.
up in fucking Gaul. And it's a little known fact that the fucking Gauls that they were dealing with at this time were like 10 times fucking worse than the fucking barbarians who finally took down fucking Rome. The barbarians who wander in the 5th, 4th, 5th century, they're just wandering across an undefended border. It's like our border with Mexico, but like, they're wearing dirty soccer shorts, they're barely armed or whatever. The Gauls, like, field these immense armies of 400,000 people, like they're completely civilized. They speak their own language, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the Roman military that was up there dealing with these motherfuckers, had to be a very formidable force in the
Right.
same way that, say, Tesla has to be a formidable force when it's competing with like GM and BYD and all of these things. It was hardened. It was hardened by the need to succeed. This was not true of the biggest dickest Roman Republican aristocrats. Okay, and Rome at this time was having a problem. It was having a problem with pirates. So pirates, as you may know, captured Caesar, and the pirates were actually causing, serious economic problems because the Romans, believe it or not, got their food from Africa. This is North Africa, not Africa, of course. And what's between Rome and Africa? The Mediterranean, huge pirate problem, food supply threatened. But these pirates were sort of like drug cartels in Mexico. They were have their own like kingdoms, they have their own armies. There's like generations of pirate kings. Serious problem. In any case, basically, the Senate, all these, biggest dick is, the third, like whatever guys are like, enough is enough. This is fucked. I didn't even have enough lunch today. We got to do something about these pirates. And then they're like, what if we did it the military way? What if we did it the military way? And they're like, fuck it, let's do it the military way.
Yeah.
And so they create basically Roman Republic Doge, and they put Roman Republic Elon Musk in charge of Roman Republic Doge. And they say, hey, Roman Republic Doge, Roman Republic Musk, we are going to give you absolute unconditional power, imperium, as it was called, wonderful word, over the Mediterranean. Anything having to do with the Mediterranean, it's a fucking fish at the top of the mountaintop. It's a fish. It has to do with the Mediterranean. It's under Elon's command. And Elon, I mean, Pompey, basically, and here's what he does. And this is why he is known in future as Elon, as Pompey the Great, Pompeius Magnus. Okay. He basically, in 3 months, without computers, without cars, trucks, trains, cell phones, the internet, gunpowder, any of these things. In 3 months, he built a giant fleet, in all these ports simultaneously, and sweeps the fucking sea clear of pirates. And it's just like, bam, no fucking pirates. Like Bukele, it's just gone. The problem's over, and people are just like, wow, that other system, it it really works better.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what happened with Obama's healthcare system, because they basically tried to do a fucking website the fucking Roman Republic way, and it did not fucking work. And then they're like, what if we did it the Silicon Valley way, where shit gets done because they operate in lean, mean command hierarchies? And so they created this thing called the U.S. Digital Service. There were two
Right.
things. There was that and another one I forget the name of, and they were basically like, the idea was like, why don't we create this USDS thing that has the power to modernize the whole federal government? Of course, if you're modernizing something that exists and you have to deal with existing people who will basically be like, fuck you, it's never going to work. The whole point is the power. But the thing is, and the actual power, not just the power in letters. So in any case, they created this USDS thing, which had, statutorily had access to basically the whole executive branch. Elon comes in, finds the security hole, such as it is like, we could rename this the United States Doge service, and it would have root access, as we say in the biz, to all the servers. And so
Yeah.
if we want to take down an agency, we just shut down the servers and the agency is gone. You can say, I shouldn't have done this, but like, how do you say, turn the servers back on? Actually, we deleted the servers. It's gone. It's done. These people can't even find each other. They don't even have the database of who worked there. In fact, if you turned it back on, random people would be coming up claiming that they worked at USAID and should get paid for it. And
Right.
like, that's the level of organizational. It's like, once you've dissolved the Stasi can't come
But
back.
there's
Well,
what else
now,
what people
you
need to
know,
appreciate is this is a system. I'm glad to hear that you're validating what I read because it's like a 4chan post.
yeah,
This is a
yeah,
system
I know. I
that
saw the same 4chan
Obama
post,
had
but it's true.
constructed for the purpose of, okay, I could get my tentacles everywhere I need the federal government. Trump just crossed out the name, put Doge. So instead of something new, this is something that has history in DC, has worked within the system, and actually has legal precedent. So that's why they're
Yeah,
having such an issue shutting it down. It's been there before Trump.
yeah, he came in through their own back door, basically,
Yes.
so to speak, right? And and it was already lubricated, right? And like, the brilliant hack, totally typical of Elon Musk. And I expect that there's more to come. I mean, the USAID thing is like, that is a very prestigious institution, right? And if you can basically unalive it and make it like, stay unalive, which is by no means a certainty. But if you can actually do that, it's just like, you just showed up at jail and like, found the biggest, toughest punk, on the block to fuck up and fucked him up and like left him like, so he'll come back, but he'll be in like the disability wing, right? And like because he's a paraplegic, right? And their ability to do that, if they can get away with it, just sends this huge, huge, beautiful message, right? It sends a message to all of America's. Remember that Lukashenko clip?
Which one? No.
you know, where Lukashenko is being, interviewed. Lukashenko, the Belarusian, president, fucking KGB guy, tough ass brawler. He's being interviewed by the BBC, and he's like, has this great line. He's like, "We'll massacre all the scum that you've been financing. Oh, you're upset." It's the "Oh, you're upset" line that's so good, right? And of course he's talking about USAID, and basically it's like completely astroturfed civil society, because of course they go around the world like hiring like all the smart bright-eyed young word cells basically in like fucking Latvia, and then making them the Latvian independent media, which is the funniest thing. The use of independent is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Speaking of which, can I tell you a joke?
Please.
I already tweeted it, but nobody reads my Twitter, so I'll tell
Do you have a Twitter?
tell
Since
it
when?
anyway. Oh, it's just a little account. Tired, Model UN. Wired, Model USAID.
I don't get it.
The Model UN. You never did Model
I know what it
UN?
is. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So picture that. Picture Model UN. You're just not enough of a nerd. Picture Model UN, and then instead of Model UN, Model USAID. So you're
Okay.
basically like, let's say you're going to the middle school. What does Model USAID go to? Excellent question. So it's a high school thing like Model UN, right? So you go to the local middle school, for example, and let's say you want to start a race war in the middle school. So the middle school might be diverse and might be multiracial. So you'll basically convince all the black kids that they should organize. First of all, they're a majority. Why is there no black principal? Why is there not democracy in this middle school? Why did the kids not get to select the principal? Why don't they get to set the rules? And so on and so forth. And they basically create democracy and civil society in this middle school, and that's Model USAID, I
Wait, is
think, or
that
an
what?
elementary school. An elementary school, even. I mean, it's a grooming. It's like political grooming,
Hold on, hold
essentially.
on. Is that actually what USAID does overseas? That's how
Yeah,
nefarious
yeah,
it is?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It grooms. It basically grooms, like it maintains, um, just like Quislings everywhere. Like it's like funds this like oligarchy. That's globalism. This civil society. Yeah, that's all it does.
I didn't
And
realize.
then it ships also. It also, and the other it does two things. One is that it does that, and the other is that, and some people are complaining about this. It basically, I mean, it and other agencies like this, of course, the Europeans weigh in, basically feeds the entire continent of Africa.
Right.
Do you know what percentage of Africa's food is imported? Not all of this is aid, of course.
No.
Take a guess.
What percentage? I mean,
Africa.
it's a very
What
agricultural. Both those countries are very agricultural. So I would say
Africa.
it's
What
obviously going.
percentage of Africa's? It's a continent, not a country, Michael.
I know.
What
I said
percentage of
most of the countries are agricultural. I'm going to be way off because if you put a gun to my head, I would have said like 10%.
10% of their food is imported? No, it's actually
Oh shit!
85%
But hold on, I broke up. What you
of
say?
the
Go
food
ahead.
that's imported. And so Africa, it's actually 85% of
No.
food that's imported in Africa. Yes, it's a kind of a giant, the cattle like finishing plants where they basically take the cattle and they just dump
Sure,
sacks of
sure.
corn. It's basically a giant Africa. We've turned Africa, from the British and French Empire into like kind of a giant human farm.
Oh wow, I did not know this. Curtis, I know you're short, and thank you for taking time to speak with me today. And I'll see you soon next time you're in Austin. Hopefully, we're running out of
All
time.
right.
What has been your favorite part of this interview?
Wow. What has been your favorite part?
The fact that you successfully outstripped Melissa Chen to become the most annoying guest to book on the show. She had that title for
Amazing.
years,
Amazing.
and you outstripped her. So that was
Amazing.
my favorite part.
Amazing. Amazing. Do you think I'll bring you clicks though?
What's that?
Do you think I'll bring you clicks? Delicious, delicious clicks. Can I
Oh,
get more clicks than Melissa Chen?
I thought you said clits, like as an Africa joke, and I was just very disturbed by this.
An Africa joke?
That's what I
An
thought you were
Africa
saying. I'll
joke?
bring you clicks. I
How
don't
is
even mean the
clits?
language. I thought you meant
Ah,
circumcision.
oh my God, it's
It's a word. It works
horrifying.
in two
I
levels, I
would
guess.
never say that. I'm embarrassed. I would never say that. Right?
Well, I
No, no,
heard it,
clicks, clicks, clicks. Sweet YouTube clicks.
Curtis. I will find out shortly. I do everything shortly.
Michael.
What has been your favorite part of this interview?
I think the ending, honestly, that was so disturbing and weird, and it just, questions everything I think about you, Michael. Just don't don't use that. Don't, whatever. I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Or it's like keep every part of yours out of that, and it's like actually they can stitch it back on.
Is that true?
It may be bony sometimes. It's all soft tissue. Like they can do that. Yes, it's all soft tissue. They can put it back on. The thing is, you can actually use it for circumcision. There's stops. You kind of put in the stops, and so it doesn't go cut all the way through. And then you spin the thing around.
Yeah. You are welcome.
Hey, it's Adam Carolla.
And this is Dr. Drew. We're back doing our podcast 3 times a week, talking about current events, health news, and more.
So, if you miss us on Loveline, check out the Adam and Dr. Drew show. New episodes Wednesday through Friday, available wherever you find finer podcasts.
Pluto TV is the place for movie fans like me.
And TV fans like me.
They've got something for everyone, and it's totally free.
You can binge laugh-out-loud sitcoms like Frasier.
And rewatch cult classics like Higher Learning.
Whether you're in the mood to solve a little crime before bedtime with NCIS or Tracker.
Or curl up with a surefire hit like Forrest Gump.
Run, Forrest! Pluto TV has thousands of movies and shows, all for free.
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.